Good evening, everyone. How you doing? Guess what? Guess what? It's time for the Ruby Girl Talk. And once again, as always, this is Dr. K, your favorite Ruby Girl, and I have two amazing, phenomenal, dynamic guests with me tonight. Hey, ladies,
Hello.
Hey, Dr. K.
how y'all doing this evening?
Excellent.
Awesome.
Great, great, great. So, hey, everybody that's out there watching, that's just seeing our show, what I want you to do is something very simple and something that's free. And it's called hit the share button. So, if you care about us, share because the topic tonight that we're going to be talking about is forgiveness. And we know that forgiveness is for us. We think it's for the other person to just tell. It's almost like we're saying, whatever you did to me, it's okay. That's not what forgiveness is for. So tonight we're gonna have that deep conversation. Some of us know we probably turned our head like, nope, I'm not releasing this person from my heart. But really, you're keeping yourself in a prison. So tonight we want to give you the gift of freedom. So, all right, before I get started, I want you ladies to go on my page, find the video and share it on your page. Okay. So that way your people can also watch the video too. They ain't gonna be trying to type in my name all wrong and stuff and can't find me. So while you do that, let me just give you a quick commercial. So I am Dr. Karen Dodd, also known as your favorite Ruby girl and also known as Coach K. And so I am the owner of His Designs LLC, but the creator of the Proverbs 31 and 10 brand, Ruby Girl. Ruby Girl is the tribe with the right vibe, and we are creatively bringing Christ to the nation. You can connect with us at rubygirl.net. So, what's so special about Ruby Girl? Ruby Girl is an empowering platform for women, women that have been abused, women that are in transition, women that just need a little encouragement and a reminder of their value and their worth. So, connect with rubygirl.net, get our newest book that's out there, and then also get our ebook and also get a product and become an official Ruby Girl with your shirt. You're not official unless you got a Ruby Girl t-shirt. That's your uniform for representing that you are a Ruby Girl. So, all right, let's get this party started. So, buckle up, get the tissue, open your heart, be ready to listen. Be ready to receive. You heard this before, but tonight it's going to prick your heart. Tonight it's going to convict your spirit. And tonight you're going to get on that phone, get on that email, and call that person or email them and say, I forgive you. I release you. Whether they receive it or not, tonight is the night that you let some people go. So let's start with the introductions. Miss Colette, would you like to go first tonight?
Well, hello. I am Colette Harrell. I was hoping Anissa went first, but I can go first. I'm okay with that. And I am an author. I am a developmental editor. And I now just recently in into 2023 became Colette Harrell Literary Events. So I'm also doing events. So I am opening up my business as 2024 comes forth. I'm excited to be in the house. I'm excited to be here with Dr. K on Ruby Girl. I'm a sapphire girl, but we can all be gems together. So I'm
Hey.
excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Well, I am honored that you are here tonight. I just had in my spirit that maybe you should go a little first. Maybe me and Anissa, we ganged up against you.
Yes, you did. It's
But
all good. I can understand it.
thank you for that wonderful introduction. And I love how you doing some new things in 2024. Some new things is going to help other people as they connect with you. And as I hear that you are an awesome book coach, and for a lot of us that's writing a book or have wrote a book, you still need a book coach because they know some things that you don't know. So we're getting to Dr. Anissa. How are you this evening?
Hey, Dr. K, I'm doing very well. Thank you again for having me and my friends on your podcast. I so appreciate you open up this door of opportunity. So, my name again is Dr. Anissa Short. I'm a speaker, I'm an author, I'm an entrepreneur, super excited about not only assisting other women in creating successful businesses within the walls of their home, but also helping them to share their stories. I work as I guess you could say, a literary consultant as well through Chosen Pen Publishing. And we are thankful that you allowed us to talk about one of the phenomenal books published by Chosen Pen.
I'm excited about the book. I can't wait to read it. I love how can I say, inspirational fiction because it's safe, especially when it's
Yeah.
got a little twist of romance into it, and especially the key theme is forgiveness, because I think we all need to work on forgiveness, because sometimes it's really really hard to release what someone has done to us. And and sometimes you rather play the victim, but playing the victim, when you don't forgive somebody else, we definitely don't be want to walk in unforgiveness. And I'm like, I do enough stuff without having that, jeopardizing my salvation or my walk with Christ. I don't want to walk and be in unforgiveness. I need all the forgiveness that God extends to me and the mercy. So, what inspired you to explore the themes of love and forgiveness I call it a Christian romance for the gift of freedom, stories of love, and the beauty of forgiveness? We'll start with Dr. Anissa.
Well, I really have to yield to Miss Colette
All
because
right.
Miss Colette is one of the two masterminds behind, this all coming into play. She was very instrumental in it. And it started with something she's already been engaged in. So Miss Colette, I'm gonna yield to you for that question.
Well, thank you so much. Dr. Norma and I, who's the owner of Chosen Pen, and also my partner in Forgiveness Retreats.
Mm,
And first, I want to say that in order for us to help women forgive, we first had to walk through it. You can't impart a mantle to someone unless you actually carry it yourself. And so when we met, Dr. Norma and I was actually walking through a series of having to forgive. And in my prayer time, God let me know that this was going to be for a reason, that I was walking through all of this because He needed for me to do something. I didn't know what it was until Dr. Norma approached me and said she wanted to do forgiveness retreats. And so I was so on the same page with her that we were able to put that together and start doing forgiveness retreats. Well, as we began to do the retreats and we began to walk women through the process, we found so many women getting free. And one of the things that I want to encourage people out there is that when you forgive, you not only unburden yourself, but you make room, you give yourself more capacity to complete your purpose. You can now live in purpose and on purpose. That's something that one of my friends, Jametta, says. You have to be able to understand that forgiveness is not just stopping you maybe from relationships, but it's also stopping you in business relationships. It's also stopping you in relationships with your children. There is a stop sign for any of the good things to come through because of the luggage and the baggage you're carrying. So when you let go and when you let God, then you can receive all He has for you. And so we continue to see women get free and begin to rise into their calling and to begin to move up levels. And so we decided that we were so good at doing these retreats, we would take it to writers' retreats. And so we began to do writers' retreats, and we were doing a writers' retreat to Jamaica. And to make a long story short, my thought was, why not marry the two? So why don't we, with the writers that were taken to Jamaica, if they would like to be part of an anthology, they submit a story, and that we end up building a book around forgiveness. And so that is how the gift of freedom got birthed. That Dr. Norma and I already had a background in forgiveness. Here we are with writers, and we all have personal stories. We all know horror stories about people who have been betrayed, people who have gone through tragedies. And so to be able to bring that to the book and say, you can still forgive, and to give that in a fictional way that it becomes bite-sized for people. And so where they might have turned away from it, the meal is too big. When it's bite-sized, I can get it down.
I love that. Bite size. And what you said is heavy. Just those that just answering that question put a burden on a lot of our hearts, because I was sitting up there thinking, I'm like, here I am, somebody has offended me, and I let that affect me and stay outside of the forgiveness realm of God, because I can't release that person. That person, I do more damage to myself than that person can ever do to me by
Exactly.
walking in unforgiveness.
Exactly.
That's
Mhm.
deep. Dr. Anissa, you want to weigh in on what she said?
Well, I can't add anything to what Miss Colette, shared, because that is how this book evolved. I'm just thankful that I had an opportunity to be a part of it. One of the things I will say though is that because the decision was made for this to be an inspirational fiction, and it is a novel. A lot of times when it comes to those heavy topics, when it comes to those deep conversations, when you can add a little comedy to it, or put it in a different format, people can digest it better. And I believe that all four of the authors did a great job of doing just that. You got engaged in the stories, but at the same time, you understood that behind the scene, at the bottom level, everybody had to forgive, and they all came from different perspectives. And that was another thing. No four story, our stories are nothing alike. And
Mhm.
nobody knew what each other was writing. So it wasn't until it came together, and Miss Colette being the developmental editor, she got to see she was the behind the scenes and in front of the scene. She was all over the scene. But it ends up being a great story. It ends up being a great sequence of stories. Let me say it that way.
You know what it
Wow.
reminds me of? Of probably how the Bible was written, where you had these writers just everywhere. There was no internet, no phone or anything, and they were just writing. And then when they took all their stories and put them together, everything just parallel, reference each other, Old Testament, New Testament. And I believe when God is in the middle of something, it just collides, but it doesn't create a mess, it creates a message. And so
That's good.
forgiveness, like I said, you made it creative. You know, a lot of people read the scriptures in the Bible and be like, okay, but to actually see people living it out and laughing about, what's going on in their life, it relaxes their mind and makes them more open to what you're trying to say. It's
That's
like,
true.
oh, okay, so if she can forgive them, they did that. They begin to think that the characters in your book are almost real and they can relate to them. So y'all did a real good God thing, because
Thank
God,
you.
yes, real good God thing. So I am so excited about your book. And once again, the name of the book is The Gift of Freedom, Stories of Love, and the Beauty of Forgiveness. Beautiful title. That woman looks so free on that book. Once again, for those in the back, The Gift of Freedom, Stories of Love, and the Beauty of Forgiveness. And I have put the link up there in the top of this video, so you could just click the link and find it. So as authors, as you talked about how you came together, how did you collaborate, like I said, and maintain a unified story? Was it just that Colette was the one that was making sure everything was uniform? Was you checking in? How did y'all stay on task? How did she crack the
Well,
whip?
okay, so when the decision was made that the anthology invitation was the invitation rather, but to be extended to be a part of it, there were certain things that were put into place in it in the fourth at the beginning, I should say. With any novel, there's always character development. So Dr. Norma and Miss Colette, or either they're together or one or the other, put together the characters that everybody was to include in their stories. Now, that was not to say that our stories would be alike, but there were certain things that was set. The stage was set. This is the theme. This is the place. These are the personalities that are going to be a part of the story. And so we want you to include some of them, because the storyline itself is everybody goes to Jamaica for a forgiveness retreat. So because they all stayed at the same resort, everybody's story, although different, had to make reference to certain like the restaurants or the scenery or some of the same characters, so that you would really believe that everybody was at the same place at the same time. So Miss Colette and Dr. Norma did a great job of setting the stage, and then we all just added, we're given the ability to weave in our extra little sauce to make it our own.
And I do want to add, because this was all created initially for a writer's retreat, Olivia Gaines was our instructor,
Oh
who's
wow, yes.
who's an awesome author. And she and I sat down, and I completed the background, and then I worked with her and we put it together in a booklet for everyone who decided to be in the anthology. And then from there, we move forward. For some people who wanted to be in the anthology, time was not on their side and they weren't able to keep up because we had deadlines and we had to get the edits done, and a lot of people had busy lives. But I think that for our first fiction anthology, it came together very, very well. And I think that everyone did a splendid job in meeting the criteria.
Have you ever put together anything like this,
No.
Colette?
No. In truth,
Definitely
I
not
kept
me.
saying to them, this is a labor of love. This is a labor of love, because I hadn't done it before, but they were so receptive to the edits. And because they were all business, well, for Dr. Norma and for Dr. Anissa, they're both business owners. They both write business books, nonfiction, self-help. So for them to allow me to guide them through the fictional genre was exceptionally gracious. And I'll say we got through it. There were no
We
whips
did.
involved,
No, there
but
were
we,
no chains.
no change.
Velvet
But,
hammers, though. There were a lot of velvet hammers.
but I to watch the book develop, to watch their stories develop, to watch them get excited about their characters, to watch some of their family members, like Dr. Nissa's husband, to get excited as the story bloomed, was probably one of the best feelings ever for me, because I was able to see my friends do exceptionally well at something that they wanted to produce and to be a part of it.
Right. And I want to add, Miss Colette, unlike myself and Dr. Norma, Miss Colette has written fiction before. So that was her wheelhouse. Not only has she had experience with writing fiction, but by being the developmental editor, she was the perfect person in our group to coach people like me who had no clue what they were doing and just thought they had it going on. And I was like, oh my God, I don't know. And then here's the thing. You read fiction, we read fiction, and we know how we can get caught up in a story where we feel like we're there. It's like we're living it as we read. And because I knew that, it was just interesting how it was hard for me to make the transition. I'm like, oh, that's what I need to do. That's it. And then once I got it, it was just a matter of me, um, you know, Dr. Miss Colette was the perfect coach, the perfect person to help everybody along the way. Some of us needed a little more help than others, but I got it.
So it kind of remind me of when you're a creative writer and you have to do business writing. Like with me, when I had went to college, I was failing in business writing. I was a writer, but I was creative and I couldn't make the transition to business. So it's kind of like you had to coach them from like business to fiction writing. I just thought you're a writer, but the tone of your writing does have to change when you're doing nonfiction and when you're doing fiction. All right. Okay, y'all. Well, we done got to our first break. That's really, really quick. So, Dr. Anissa and also Colette, I'm gonna give you each 1 minute to say whatever you want to say. Now, here's the rules. You gotta put in your contact information so that my audience can contact you. And so while you do that, I'm gonna go on Facebook, I'm gonna look, I'm gonna share, see if we got any comments. And for those that's out there watching, I want y'all to share this because there's somebody out there that's struggling with forgiving somebody out there that has the weight of the world on their shoulder, can't understand why they're stuck, can't understand why they have this depression and whatever, because they haven't released. They're carrying so many people in their hearts and they need to release what they're done to them. Some things we might say is unforgivable, but God did not put in a stipulation when he told us forgive people. You can forgive them except for this. We have to let it go. So, all right, who's going to go first?
I'll yield the floor.
Oh my
Okay.
goodness, I knew she was going to say that. So again, my name is Dr. Anissa Short. I mentioned earlier that I'm an author, speaker, entrepreneur. I can be found on my website, anissashort.com. That's ANISSASHORT, just like you see it on the screen, anissashort.com. That is my website that is being updated, but on it, you learn a little bit more about me. You can connect with me. And then I have an actual a community via Facebook. And if you will go to Facebook, I am referenced as the success strategist. So that page will allow you to follow me on Facebook. You'll get my links to where you can join my offline community. And so look for the success strategist. Let me give you the lettering. I have to look at this. I had to change my information before again. Okay, so it's going to be Dr. Short at TSS. I'm sorry. On Facebook, it's going to be ampersand Dr. Short TSS, which stands for the Success Strategist. So if you want to follow me on Facebook, just go there. Thank you again, Dr. Todd, Dr. K, for allowing us this opportunity. And everybody should get a copy of this book. So she's done a great job of posting the link where it can be purchased. Grab a copy. When I tell you it's a great read, I had a friend of mine to say, Anissa, I read the book over Thanksgiving, and I found myself having conversation with the characters like, girl, no, that kind of thing. So when she said that, I know we've done a great thing. I'll go ahead and post my information in the chat as well. Thank you again, Dr. K.
Oh, you're welcome.
And I guess I'll just jump in where I fit
Yes,
in.
ma'am.
I am Colette Harrell. My website is coletteharrell.com. My Facebook is Colette Harrell. And please come and visit me on Amazon or Barnes & Noble or any place you get books and look up Colette R. Harrell. You do need to put the R in, but you should be able to find me. I am on my 5th book, all inspirational fiction. I love fiction stories with a spark. So I'm not very, very scripture or holy in the now. I do try to make sure my characters are authentic. I do try to show how we as Christians struggle with certain issues ourselves, but how by the grace of God we get up. And so please, look me up. I think that I have page turners. I think you will enjoy them. Please look at The Gift of Freedom. Myself and my friends did an awesome job giving you short stories. So, hey, you can take it every day to work, and it can be your lunchtime companion so that you can knock off a story while you're eating your sandwich. And then it won't conflict with work because there's, what did Dr. K say? They're safe. So you can read them. Your child can look over your shoulder. They won't sneak up on any words they shouldn't see. It's just a fantastic read. So I am technically challenged. I don't even know if I got this on my site right the way it is. I'm going to add it afterwards if I didn't. But please understand, just put in Colette Harrell. You will find me. I will be hanging out. And I'm just so glad you're here. I'm so glad that you're interested in forgiveness. And I'm just really excited about sharing more with you. So thank you very much, Dr. K, for giving us this station identification for Ruby.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Miss Colette. Thank you so much. So I shared it on my business page and my group pages so that at least it's showing up on, I think, 4 pages right now, 4 sites. So we have Blair Cherie, Marietta Mills, Renee Bernard, everybody saying hello. Hello, ladies. How you doing? They're just absorbing everything because it's so deep. Usually I have a bunch of comments, but sometimes things are so deep that you just have to just be quiet about it and just be like, let me just soak this in. So thank you, ladies. Y'all did an awesome job on your 1 minute talk for us. And thank you for sharing your information. At the end of the show, they will also share their information again as they close out. But this is the second half of the show, so we shift a little bit. So we talked about the production of the book, how it came about and everything. So we want to go inside the book now. So you just give you a little preview. We can't give you too much because then you don't want to buy the book. Y'all know how y'all do. But anyway, I did put the link out there in the comment section too, because I double check. I didn't have it in the posting section. Now you got it in both sections. So ladies, you don't have any excuse. And like I said, what I liked about the book, what really pulled me in was that the fact that you do not see too many African American books like this. I go in Walmart, and when I tell you, I look at the books that are in there, and I was like, I can't buy any of those books, or else they're self-help books. But to see a fiction book that's Bible based, that's about a subject that a lot of people don't want to talk about or want to deal with, I absolutely love it. And I'm so excited to be able to get into it. But tonight, we're going to get just a little preview of it, and we're going to start with Miss Colette. Tell us about your book, because there are many books in books. It's not like this is a story, this is a story. It's almost like each one created a mini book and they came together. Like I said, this book is unique, so you want to make sure you have it in your library. So tell us about Mama's Blues.
Mama's Blues is all about a mother and daughter. And this daughter has had to watch her father, who she has put up in her mind. He is her hero. He has always been her hero. She's an only child. And then she watches her father fall for a girl her age and leave her mother after 25 years of marriage. And mama getting a little bit bitter. So she decides to trick her mother to take her to Jamaica to this forgiveness retreat, because the daughter doesn't want her mother. She understands her role and understands their role in God, to know her mother cannot reach her potential as long as she's bitter against the father. And so they have this adventure where they go to Jamaica, and oh my, people say, well, did Stella get a groove back? I said, well, she didn't get a groove back, but she might have caught a new groove. So it's all about the daughter and the mother going to Jamaica, the people that they meet in Jamaica, and how it turns their lives, just the act of forgiveness. And I think the wonderful thing about the story is that the daughter was going for the mother, but ends up realizing she needed to be there for herself.
That's deep, because I think a lot of women out there can relate. Being with somebody that you gave your all to, and they just walked away from you with pieces of your heart. And now you left with this broken heart, this cracked heart that you got to get together. That person can't come back. They can't help you. They can't say the right words that's going to heal your heart. Only you can allow God to put it back together again.
That's
So I
true.
can't even imagine anything just as devastated as that. I mean, it happens all the time for us that our men leave us for younger women. It's very rare that a man leaves us for an older woman. I
That's
can count,
correct.
it's always that younger woman. So you can imagine when we get to be a certain age, how we might feel a little bit like we're not as valuable. And that's what I like about getting back to my brand, Ruby Girl. It reinstalls that value that you lost along life. And so that's what your book, Mama's Blues, is doing. If you that woman that you might not have been your husband that broke your that did something like this, but a man has done something to you to break your heart, and you show them the importance of forgiveness through this story. So I think every woman can relate to this story.
And I
I
think
know
the other
I can
part,
relate to that story.
I think the other part of this too is that many times we make decisions as adults and we believe our adult children have to just deal with it.
Mm.
And I think that even though it was hard for Virginia to go through it, it was hard for Jillian to watch it. You know, I've got to watch my mother be tore down. I've got to watch my father move on. And I'm an only child stuck between the two, trying to keep things moving, and I'm watching my mother sink. I got
Right.
to figure something out. So I think that this is about two women finding their way and finding their way together. And I think they added another level of the mother and daughter relationship, where they were able to add, by the end of the book, friendship,
Mm.
because it had been a purely mother-daughter type of relationship. But having to go through something like this together brought them closer together, and also brought new people in their lives. I won't
Right.
give it away because you gotta read the book and
Oh,
see what happens when they get off the plane in Jamaica.
it was getting
But
good.
it's I should have added my tag. I'm all about happily ever after because
Okay.
life is hard enough. So my Mama Blues ends with a happily ever after.
I believe it. I believe she turns those blues around.
Yes.
Well, thank you. Thank you. That, like I said, it's a story that's needed because sometimes parents forget about the children. They're just like, it's my life. They're grown. They just have to accept it. But imagine you love both. You got two people that you love, and one person has hurt your loved one so bad. So now you're in the middle. You was like, I love you. I have to honor you as my parent. But dad, what you did was wrong.
Exactly.
Ma, I feel your pain, but I still love my dad. So
Right.
it's like, what do I do? How do I react? So you can only find out how this adult daughter was able to navigate this by
Mhm.
getting the book. And
That's
if you,
right.
like I said, if you were in the back, the name of the book is The Gift of Freedom, Stories of Love and the Beauty of Forgiveness. So they have four authors. And who would like to give the name of the four authors?
Well, there's Colette Harrell, obviously. There's myself, Anissa Short. There's Dr. Norma McLaunchlin, and then there's Miss Ebony Little. The four of us. Each
All
wrote
right.
a separate story.
So four women got together, wrote separate stories, but they collaborated. So Dr. Anissa, tell us about your story. Remember Jamaica.
Remember, Jamaica is a story about a lady named Anastasia who was actually invited to be a part of the planning of the retreat that was hosted by Nora and I mean, I got my
Mhm.
names mixed up. The host of the retreat. Let me just say that they reached out to her and said, "We need you to assist with the facilitating and that type of thing." And so, because she's an event planner, she decides to go. Well, the story starts off with an introduction to a conversation she had with a man in her life the year prior. So she's got a fresh start. She's going to this retreat. She really didn't want to go because it was about forgiveness, but when she heard it was in Jamaica, she changed her mind. So she's there to with the intention of assisting the host with all the logistics that come with hosting a retreat, being a part of the, host and taking care of, the logistical things as an event planner. But lo and behold, one of the coaches who's connected to her that invited her kept saying to her, "There's something you need to let go. There's something you need to let go." Well, she had been harboring unforgiveness and it was blocking her. It was a blockage. So much so that while she was at the retreat, something happens. The planners of the retreat were the biggest cheerleaders for a certain direction in her life. And she was like, "No, I'm not interested." But anyway, long story short, the way the story ends is my story ends is that she goes back to the retreat, goes back rather to the resort where the retreat was held some years later in a different frame of mind and also with different people in her life.
Sound like a romance was somewhere up
It's
in
all
there.
about the romance.
Okay, all right, all right. Now
It's
we
all
love,
about the clean romance,
The
clean
clean
romance.
romance.
yes,
Yeah.
clean romance. We love that happily ever after. And I
Yes,
think
it was
every
it's a
girl,
happily ever after. It's a happily ever after. You see, one of the things I will add too about this is that Dr. Miss Colette made reference early at the very onset that she and Dr. Norma host a lot of forgiveness retreats, and there are a lot of exercises and things that people who attend that retreat have to get involved in. And so you'll hear snippets of that even throughout the book, because again, these people came to a retreat and they had work to do, right? There was work that they needed to do. And so you see glimpses of that also through the stories, which is so significant. But so if anyone is dealing with unforgiveness themselves, it kind of coaches them in a subtle
Yeah,
way
it
on
helps.
what they need to do themselves. One of the things I want to point to in reference to that of Dr. K is this. Um, Miss Colette made reference to this being an inspirational fiction. Love and forgiveness are biblical principles, no doubt about it, right? And a lot of times we hear it only in the church, within the four walls of the church. Well, this book is an excellent example of how the message of love and forgiveness goes into the marketplace, and it would reach people that probably wouldn't ever go to a church. And so this is ministry in itself, but it's done in a way that people can easily digest it. They can embrace it. They will see the message. They may even see themselves in some of the stories, and so they could possibly even be healed in the process. And so that's one of the biggest blessings, I believe, of this collaboration.
And I think that's really great. And that's such a great point that we've actually added some of the exercises that we use. We take people up to the Tennessee Smoky Mountains and we walk them through forgiveness at this retreat. And so some of the exercises that you hear the characters doing in the book are exercises we've actually walked people through that were very effective. So we've given snippets of it so that people can look and see, oh, okay, I could probably try working on this. And maybe I could take this to my pastor or my coach or my husband or whoever significant in my life. And maybe we could walk through this together.
Yeah.
I love
It's a
that.
journey. Forgiveness is a journey. It's not overnight. It's not like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. Yeah.
Right. And my storyline, because I was my character Anastasia was the event planner. She sits in on some of the sessions, and she begins to receive the message, and it starts to it make an impact on her. But then after the retreat is over, she takes some of the exercises that were explained and she does some additional work while she gets home. So of what she learned, and she applied it to her life, and it made a significant difference. Dr. K, I think it was you, maybe no, Miss Colette said that when we choose not to forgive, we block our blessings, we block our ability to move to the next level and things of that nature. And there's a certain aspect of my story where it shows that, because Anastasia had unforgiveness, maybe that she didn't identify. She needed to forgive someone else, and she needed to forgive herself. And because she chose to take that course of action to walk through the journey and the process of forgiveness, her life was able to open up to better opportunities.
You know, a lot of people don't discuss, also it can cause health problems.
It does.
Yes, it
It can.
does.
It can. It can cause high blood pressure, even women problems. And I know because I had unforgiveness. And it's funny how you can have unforgiveness and not know exactly what it is.
That's
You
right.
know, I found out I had unforgiveness towards my father, but it wasn't what I thought it was. When I was going through deliverance, um, I found out that it was something totally different. And it shocked me. I was like, I would be mad at my father because of that. But when we used to do deliverance, I was in the deliverance ministry. Do you know that God would literally stop us if somebody had unforgiveness towards their father? We could not deliver them. Every time we be taking them through deliverance, and the Holy Spirit would be like, stop. We have a conversation with them, and what would come out, they had some unforgiveness towards their father. It wasn't their mother, it was always towards their father. And it would be like, stop. Until they forgive their father, you can't go further. Even when I went through deliverance, he couldn't do anything. He said, I have to stop until you forgive your father. So that's why it's so important, if you're holding father, daddy hurt, that you definitely have to release that. And I was thinking as y'all was talking, the most greatest show of forgiveness was when Jesus was on the cross and he asked Father to forgive them. But you got to think about it. He was in the process of being crucified. The most, how can I put it, the most hardest moment of his life on earth, and he chose to forgive. So that's why forgiveness is not going to be just something easy like somebody stepped on your shoe. It's going to be the most hardest moment, the most greatest pain of your life that you have to say, Father, I forgive them. And so we think forgiveness is easy, but it's not. We could look at Jesus, all he went through, the beating, the spitting, the betrayal, everything, but yet he chose to say, I forgive them. He didn't have to. He didn't have to even say it. He could have, he's God himself, but he showed us that in your most crucified moment, that's the moment that you let it go.
And that's so
That's
true. That's so true. And it's also almost like an onion. As you peel it back, you're crying and
yes.
you think you're done, but that was just the first layer.
Mm.
So many of us, we're coming for the husband, or we're coming for the wife that left us. We're coming for the boyfriend or the girlfriend that left us. And then we pull back that layer and we're like, okay, I forgive them. And then we find out, uh-oh, there's another layer. Oh, you mean to tell me I'm still mad about that from my childhood? You mean I'm still carrying that from my childhood? And then we pull that layer back. So we have to continue. That's why I wanted to make sure we understood it's a process, because a lot of times we're feeling like the load that we're carrying is one person when it's a number of situations of betrayal that has happened in our lifetime that we have not let go. We have thought we healed because we just moved forward, but in actuality, we band-aided and we kept going. But when that last one comes and no band-aid will work, then you got to pull all those band-aids back. You got to pull it all back, because he said it in scripture. If you want to come to me, if there's aught against, you got to go to the altar. If there's aught on the floor, you got to go to the altar. And sometimes we thinking it's just if there's aught against you. No, if you got aught against somebody else, he said, give me a clean heart, renew a right spirit in me. So if I'm going to the altar, I better come clean. I better come saying, you know what? Take it all. I surrender all is the old hymn that we sing. So we need to make sure, and this book, I think, will allow people to take a spoonful of sugar and let that medicine go down, because they can see themselves in one of these
in the
situations.
stories. Yeah. Yeah. One of the other stories has to do with daddy hurt.
Mhm.
Dr. Norma's story has to do with her character Miriam has father hurt from her father. And then the other story, Ebony's story has to do with a single mom being angry with the children's father, that kind of thing. So we didn't discuss any of this. Everybody did their own thing, but we came from different vantage points, and they're pretty several other circumstances that would be applicable. But I believe we touched on like the most common that women deal with for sure. Relationships, marriage, daddy hurt, baby
Baby mama
daddy,
drama.
yeah, baby mama drama, right? And that kind of thing. So we ended up talking about forgiveness, as I said, in 4 different scenarios, 4 different situations, but they're common to most people.
Wow. It's been really deep. So in closing, before we close, this is the last question. Just real quick, what advice would you give somebody that's struggling to forgive someone?
Wow.
I think most people, when they come because they're struggling to forgive, because they're not able to do it on their own. And I think that one thing that we don't do anymore, but the Bible says that some things only come through fasting and praying. I am a firm believer in fasting and praying. I think fasting breaks some things up that wouldn't normally be broken. I think that we have to first have a contrite spirit. We have to come, a contrite heart, excuse me, that we have to come before him truly wanting to forgive. Because when we know that we cannot carry this burden any longer, and I think for some people that are struggling, they're not ready to give it up. I'm not going to say everybody's ready to give it up. Some people still walk away. They can forgive this part, but they can't forgive that part. So they might say, well, I overcame my relationship with this person, but I'm still carrying this other person. I'm not ready to let that go yet. That's a struggle that has to come between them and God. No
Yeah.
one can make you forgive. We can only suggest that you surrender over and let God heal you. But
Right.
that's got to be a personal decision.
That's good. That's good. The only thing I would recommend is, which was exhibited in the stories for the most part, is for us to, everybody needs to have a coach or a mentor in their life to be able to identify our blind spots. And there are some people who may have the blind spot of unforgiveness and don't realize it, but it can be easily seen in the more mature the more experienced person. And so even like in my story, that was one of the things that one of the coaches said, there's some things you need to get rid of. You're dealing with some things. And of course she was in denial about it, but it was eventually revealed. So like the retreats that Dr. Norma and Miss Colette host, those are very necessary. Sometimes we are harboring unforgiveness even against ourselves and we don't realize it, but other people in our community, those that we allow to speak into our lives will see it, and they will be able to communicate that to us and make sure that they hold us accountable to become better instead of bitter. And of course that happens if you're bitter, angry, resentful. A lot of times it's tied to some unforgiveness, and sometimes we don't see it. Someone else in our space has to. So I would say to yield to the advice and the wisdom of community. Find a mentor, find a retreat, and a lot of that will be revealed, so you'll know which course of action to take, or even acknowledge that it's there, so you'll know then how to get rid of it or what you need to do next to get rid of it.
Yeah, don't isolate yourself.
Very good advice. All right. Y'all, sadly, it's time for us to close. So I'm gonna
That's
give you an
okay.
opportunity, each one of you, to give a 2-minute quick talk, and then we'll be done for tonight. So which one of you beautiful ladies want to go first?
I'll go first. So I
Oh,
want everybody to grab a copy. Everybody needs to grab a copy. I want you to get a copy for yourself and give it as a gift. Everyone in your life could benefit from this book. It's age appropriate. It's age appropriate. I would say, it's even teenagers, high school, college students. Everyone needs to understand the importance and significance of love and forgiveness. And this book is a safe read for almost anyone. So grab a copy of the book and then gift a copy of the book. And of course, as already given, thanks Dr. K for providing the link. This is a great book to read. I've gotten great feedback from it, and I want you to be a part of the love and forgiveness community. So grab a copy of The Gift of Freedom today and share this podcast with others, because in doing so, you become an extension of the message of the importance of love and forgiveness. Thank you again, Dr. K.
You're welcome.
thank you
Let's
so
go.
much, Anissa. You gave a wonderful closing. I don't know how I could add to that except to say your choices make choices for you. You don't choose to get pregnant if you're single. Most of the time it's because you went home with somebody. So your choice made a choice for you. You don't choose to um, get abducted, but you chose to go to the party and drink and somebody slipped something in your drink. Your choice made a choice for you. I'm asking that we choose forgiveness. I'm asking that you might not have chosen all the things that happened to you. You might not have chosen the betrayal. You might not have chosen the hurt. Of course, you didn't, the pain, but you can choose to forgive. And in choosing to forgive, you give yourself the gift of freedom, which takes us back to the name of our book, The Gift of Freedom. So please get your copy. I've enjoyed being on your show, Dr. K. I thank you so much for the Ruby Girls allowing us to come on. Thank you so much.
You are so welcome. I want to thank you both for being a guest tonight on my show, and I thank you for what you have shared, what you have written in your book, and I'm praying that it blesses everyone that touches your book. And so tonight, if you put in the chat, I need it. And look, let me tell you, if you don't read, don't put in the chat. If you're not going to read it, do not have me spending my money when I can spend it on somebody that would need it. Okay. And then I have to work on forgiveness. Not just kidding. No, but if you need this book, if you know, look, I need to read this book, put in the chat, I need this book. Okay. And then I'll decide. Let me see, who do I think really, really need it? No, the first person put in the chat, I need this book. I'll get the book for you. Remember, you got to read this book. If I have to get on a Zoom with you and we have to read it every week, you're going to read this book.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Okay, Dr. Anissa.
And once they read it, leave a review on Amazon.
Yes, definitely. Y'all gotta leave those reviews because reviews are very important. It makes people decide if they want something, if they don't want something. So we want people to get this book. This is God led and God blessed. So, Miss Colette, thank you so much for tonight. Thank you for everything that you shared. Thank you for exercising your gifts and not sitting on them, being bold and being brave, and for having a spirit of patience with those that you work with. And Dr. Anissa, thank you for putting yourself out there, never stopping what you're doing, using your pen as your voice, blessing people. Even when you're gone, y'all have left a legacy in the earth because people keep books. Very rare that people get rid of books. So this will be passed down from generation to generation. People going to be Googling you 100 years from now and be like, oh, that's who they were. Okay. So, all right, y'all. Thank you so much for watching tonight. I thank my audience. I'll be back 8:30 p.m. next week on Tuesday with some more amazing guests and Miss Colette and Dr. Anissa. Y'all know y'all always welcome to come on my show to promote anything, okay? All right,
Thanks
thank
so
you
much.
everybody that's out there watching. So Facebook, y'all have a great night.